and welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games from the Game Pass collection, bringing you 3 unique perspectives for varying skill range. I am the explorer of this episode, Andrew. With me, the one who looks like who lives in a radiation zone, Keith.
Hello.
And our returning stalker, my brother, Aaron.
Hey.
Go away.
Yeah, I keep coming back.
As if we don't invite him, but he just won't go away, everybody.
I just keep inviting myself.
He just shows up. You're
putting me on the next episode.
He's just on.
Matt, every time you guys log on, I'm just here waiting.
Hey
Thank
guys,
you.
What game are we talking about? I'm here. But this week, what game we are talking about is Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl by GSC Game World. Stalker 2 is a first-person open-world exploration survival game where you are playing what's known as a stalker, which are kind of these special freelance people that work in a radioactive zone, specifically the zone around Chernobyl. So it is a hotbed of paranormal activity, anomalies, radiation, mutants, and what have you. And you are trying to basically figure out what's going on a little bit with the zone. But I'm going to go last of this because I'm really curious as to what you guys are going to say. Keith, was this a game or pass for you?
Well, I have 2 questions for you first.
Sure.
So this is Stalker 2. You played Stalker 1 as well as Stalker 2.
A little bit. I've played I'd say maybe 6 hours of the first Stalker because
that's fair. I don't need a full explanation. I just fair answer.
Okay, you want me to stop talking? Okay.
Well, because I'm not trying to drag this out forever. I can't actually remember what my second question was. Do you feel like playing the first one is necessary for playing the second one in any capacity?
Context? Like knowing what's
really just I think story probably the most, but otherwise gameplay too. I guess I'm just kind of curious.
I would say no. It helped me. I definitely remember things that happened in the first one when it came to gameplay, but
fair enough. So anyways, yeah, I think I am just going to give this a pass. I'm not going to dog around it and, oh, well, it's game, it's passes. There's fine points of the gameplay and there's things that I liked in it, but I just overall where it's a pass for me, it's the survival aspect, which had I known, if I just read at all, it could have explained that to me, but I didn't know that. And I was just expecting a wildly different game. And I don't generally like survival genre games because I just get frustrated by the lack of ammunition and all of those little things like that. But anyways, so yeah, it's I'm just gonna go ahead and just give it a pass.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give it a pass as well.
I know Aaron doesn't like any game that he's on.
That's been the trend. I feel like before it was the other way around because I felt like we would fight with me mostly excited for something and you not, because I did like Mafia. Okay, so you can't put me in the hate category, and I also really liked
Call of Duty.
Still Wakes the Deep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
See? So, okay. All right. So I am objective here. If you look at the overall package of this game, it is really hard to see, hey, this is actually really good. And what I mean is graphically, the game might have moments that look really good.
Yeah.
But in a lot of it, it's very ugly. And some of that stuff can be fixed, but almost everything I'm going to say here is probably fixable. Some of it probably isn't. And we can get into a little bit about the history of this game and the studio and all of that stuff, because I think that's all a factor here. But okay, so graphically, it can get pretty ugly. Story-wise, I don't know. It's like even how this game starts, you're in a building, it explodes, you have a rock, and then you go into a zone. Why? What? What's the end game here? No clue. Not going to explain it. Now, there are elements that are interesting. There's some side stories that pop up. You're like, man, this would be really cool if they explored this a little bit more. Is the gunplay fun? No. It's really floaty. And we'll talk a lot about bugs because there's a lot of bugs in this game. This game was an absolute nightmare to play in its first week.
Yeah.
There were certain monsters you could not kill. Like, you just could not kill.
Which ones?
That first monster you run into,
the invisible one,
took me forever. Yes.
Yeah.
To the point where I dropped the difficulty. It changed absolutely nothing. You then run into that monster again. I killed him after 6 deaths the first time. I then ran into him again shortly after, and I just straight up had to avoid him completely because he was unkillable. I was running out of ammo. So dialogue, it's hit or miss, but it's not great. The survival elements are fine, but they're kind of glossed over. You could see where this would be a good game. But as it's built right now, there's just way too many issues. And there are just these few flashes of moments where like, oh, this feels like Fallout. But they're just few and far between. Gosh, why are you even collecting things? Like, I feel like the trading system isn't very good. Like, I don't get the purpose of looking for things because what is this doing for me? Even when you're upgrading your stuff, it's okay. I didn't feel like it made me that much better. It was really hard to tell how I was progressing in this game. So it's hard for me to look at this and say this deserves even kind of close to a pass or to a game. This is just a pass.
Well, geez, Aaron, do you want to give your final score right now?
Well, I'm just trying to give an overview. I've got details. Those aren't even details.
So, okay, I will say, starting off, I was with you guys. I actually, I played the first Stalker a bit, like I said, so I know a lot of this context. This looks and feels just like the first one. Like a lot of the inventory management and how trading and stuff works. They did a great job with it. But yeah, I was in the same camp where I was just like, oh, this is rough. This is gonna be my first pro tip. Play this on easy. So Aaron, you started on normal?
Yes.
And what about you, Keith?
Nope. I started out right on easy, partly because I was like, well, I know I need to get through this game a little quicker, but also I don't know. I did remember you kind of make a passing joke about this plays like the first Stalker, and you kind of laughed in a way that made me feel like I didn't anticipate I was going to enjoy what I was getting into, I guess. And it's like, nope, I'm just going to go right ahead and go on easy with this. So I never even tried anything above that.
All right. Yeah, my first pro tip, play on easy. Because I played on normal too, where I was just like, all right, because there's 3 difficulties. There's obviously easy, normal, and hard. And so I was like, I'll play normal. And it's just, this is like the Dark Souls of first-person shooters. You die so much. And the game knows you do. And it literally has a death counter every time you die. So clearly they're like, you're going to be dying a lot. So here's kind of a funny number. As soon as I switched to easy, I was enjoying this game way more. But I will give it a game. It's definitely not for everyone. I was not really enjoying it, not only till I put it on easy, but till about the 8-hour mark. Is when I was kind of like, all right, this is getting cool. I left the lesser zone. I'm exploring more of the map. I'm seeing different areas, new cities, and I'm like, okay, like this is starting to click with me. I'm actually really enjoying this. This game is just very hard. It doesn't tell you anything. You are going in there, even as Aaron said with the story, it's just like, stop, your house is blowing up. Now you're collecting rocks or something. Have fun.
Or
and
something.
It really doesn't explain much. It really is just, There you go. But after about like the 8-hour mark, I was like, all right, I'm kind of enjoying this. So this is why I say it's obviously not for everyone, because a lot of people, usually me, it irritates me when people say that. They're like, oh, the game gets good when you get to the end game. And it's just like, well, like, why do I want to do a chore until I get to a point where it's good?
Well, isn't this game like 150 hours?
No. I thought it was too. I thought people were saying 80, but currently at time to
the map looks massive.
It is massive. Yeah, but time to beat, it says 31 hours, side quest 44 and a half. So it is a hefty game.
It's still big, obviously. But like, I thought it was way bigger than that.
Because the other thing I want to point out too is this game download size. It's like 126 gigs.
Yeah.
It's almost as big as Call of Duty.
I thought it was huge.
Like, that's nuts.
Where does that bloat come from then? I don't want to get too far ahead. I don't even know where that comes from then, if it's only a 44-hour game.
Because I think there's a lot of choices. I'm assuming, did any of you guys leave the lesser zone?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I was close to it, at least. The part I was in a bunker at Zalicia.
So you were about to probably leave then.
Yeah.
Because that's when the, whatever they call it, the anomaly or whatever hits.
Okay. Emission.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the sky turns red and it's
after you get out of there is when you head outside of the lesser zone.
Yeah. So Aaron, did you give the PDA to the wardens?
When you're going after Squint?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like when you meet Squint, you gave it to the wardens?
Yes.
Okay. See, I was hoping you at least did something different, because that's also why I'm assuming there's a lot of bloat in this game.
I gave it to what's his name?
The
Richter.
town leader?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm curious how that plays out, because once you leave the lesser zone, I gave it to the warden. So I started doing missions with the warden, and I did like this whole base attack with them. And that's when I said, like, this is where I'm like, all right, this is actually getting fun. This is cool. And so I'm assuming there is a lot of branching paths you can do with this. Because then I got to another point farther in the game where I killed like a warlord, which you could also not kill a warlord. But I gave the PDA because I was like, I already teamed up with the warden, so I'll just keep giving him more information. But it gave me the option to not give him the PDA. So I think there is a lot of branching paths.
Yeah, see, because that's also a little frustrating to me. I where it just didn't seem obvious that decisions were doing something, and it's because of how it sets it up. The pace at which it's moving, I wasn't really understanding what was happening or what was at stake. Like,
Yeah.
when the wardens kind of first come in and they're looking for this guy, am I supposed to care? Am I supposed to be protecting somebody? Am I supposed to be cautious? Like, when you continue down that path a little bit, I did a side mission, which was an interesting side mission. And this is, what were these guys called? The Monolith.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
They're like a cult.
So, okay, how was I supposed to know that?
Yeah.
And I don't even know if I handled that situation properly because I have no clue what's going on. And they attacked me. It's not like I started the fight. I have no clue. But then when I get back into town and turn that mission in, the guy's pissed at me that I like didn't defend them against the monolith and that I should know better, that the monolith aren't. I was like, I know nothing about these guys. I don't even know what's happening right now. There were a lot of moments like that where I was like, I didn't even know. When I'm going into a situation, I kind of want to know if I've got options or like, should I care more about one thing or the other? I would have no clue in that situation who was bad or who was good. None, no real context there.
I kind of want to argue with this though. I kind of like this because anytime you play a game, it's always good guys, bad guys. Like even when you play Fallout 4, like you never play a Fallout game, but very much the right away they're just like the Institute. Literally, as soon as you leave, like everyone's like the Institute. They're the boogeyman. They're creating robots. Like everyone just keeps saying they're bad, they're bad, they're bad. Then the Brotherhood. Oh, the Brotherhood. They're military authoritarian people. They keep telling you. So it's kind of nice being in this world. And as somebody who doesn't know what's going on to kind of piece things together, everyone's saying, yeah, the Monolithians are a cult. But I'm like, are they? Is this just rumors that this small group is saying? I don't know. It's kind of a different change of pace for me. I see where you're coming from because I would like more context of this greater world, but it's also kind of cool to piece things together myself.
To me, there's a proper way of doing this, though, and giving me a little bit more lead up or giving me a little bit of conflicting information so that I'm kind of curious. I'm questioning. And then those dialogues can be a little bit more interesting because you're now prodding to figure out, well, actually, what is right, what is wrong here. In that instance, I didn't get any of that. I just got thrown into a situation. I was attacked. And then the guy is scolding me in town because I sided with people I just killed. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't understand what just happened. I don't know who the monolith are. And apparently what I did was bad, but I don't know how. I don't know how I could have handled it any differently. I was literally just following the prompts. And that situation was cool when I was in it because you've got the one guy that's injured. And then you've got the guy hiding up in the attic who's like, I had to save him. Like, I saved his life. But you're kind of like, wait, are you bad or are you good? And I was like, this is kind of interesting. I'm intrigued. Then the monoliths show up and just kill everyone.
No. The monolith was the guy in the attic.
Right. That's what Aaron's saying. I think because at least this is where I thought I kind of had the same thought at this point in the story because I did this side mission as well. I thought it might have been. I mean, either way, is that in that moment that you're talking to him, he mentioned something about like a creature that nobody saw. And you're like, well, I've seen creatures that are invisible and like can pick things up. And so it's like you're like, this is a very believable story, but everyone wants to pin it on you, which would make sense because you're a cult guy. So you have that moment of question. So I don't know. I walked out and I shot the guys who are outside who were, I think, stalkers who I probably
they were stalkers. The people outside were stalkers.
They shot me. Like,
Yeah.
they
that's
started the fight.
Well, that's true too. When I walked out the front door, they did. So actually, that how is that supposed to play out otherwise? Or is that what you're saying?
What I don't.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you could say like, hey, yeah, the guy's in the attic. I'll go kill him or something like that. There was choice options to go kill the guy, the monolithian that was in the attic. And that's what I mean. That's why I like that situation because everyone's like, oh, the monolithian are cults. They're monsters. But this monolithian just saved the guy. And he even said like he was injured. I needed to save him. So that's why I like that situation, because I'm like, these people outside are saying he's a cult person that needs to die. Like, they're completely unforgivable. But I'm like, well, he just saved somebody. Like, so is this guy actually a monster?
I think there's some interesting elements there, and the game has that. Like, the game has these interesting elements. Just the pacing and how it's connective tissue on like leading you into these situations, even going a little bit further. So I hand in that PDA, and he sends me to the Sphere.
Yeah.
So it's a military base. Military for who? He kind of vaguely hints at it.
I think
And
they're
then you
called
get there,
Serpa or something like that.
and it's not much of a military base.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like, holy smokes, there's like a ton of lore here, and they assume you know it when you get into this game. And I would anticipate, I know Keith kind of asked this a little bit. He kind of led Andrew and said, did you play Stalker 1? I kind of assume, since Stalker 1 is, what, 30 years old or something
Is it
like that
really?
at this
15.
point? I thought it was even older than that.
Dang, I
That
didn't realize
most
that.
people playing Stalker 2 are not super familiar with Stalker 1. But this almost did feel like you did kind of need to know that game, because it seemed like there was a lot of lore and history happening here that it expected me to know. That I'm like, I don't know. I literally do not know any of this. I don't know what any of you guys are talking about. Some of this sounds interesting, but there's no lead in. None.
It's like an inside joke.
Yeah, almost.
I wish
like
I knew
that
what was going on
that
right
sounds
now.
like that'd be a funny joke. I wish I knew it. Yeah. Okay.
Is when the first Stalker came out.
It's 17 years ago, isn't it?
It's a long time. Yeah, it's interesting. A side note, just because Andrew didn't mention it. I mentioned the studio. So this studio is a Ukrainian studio.
Yeah, based in
That-
Kiev.
Part of why this game has been delayed as long as it has is, well, obviously they were getting bombed. There was a long process in building this game. So there is like, you kind of have this in the back of your head, like you want to be really forgiving for a lot of these things, because you're like, man, these guys went through war to make this game. But I really just kind of have to, and this game was unplayable in that first week. I don't know if you bothered playing it in the first week, but it was such a janky mess. And they did release a patch that they said there was something like 600 something bug fixes or something like that. And graphically, it got a little bit cleaner, a little bit. But yeah, so there was parts like, okay, so they are fixing some elements of this game, but there's still plenty of bugs. I was in a dialogue where I was talking to a wall, real Fallout style bugs.
See, I actually did not have that many bugs. At least
Really?
any ones I had were kind of goofy, and I don't mind goofy bugs. If I get something that deletes my game or makes me not progress, different story. But anytime I saw something, it was always slightly goofy. The funniest one I saw online, somebody like shot an enemy in the head, and the guy literally was doing like a tumbleweed barrel like in the sky and just flew away like a helicopter. And I was like, all right, that's awesome. I love those kind of bugs.
Yeah, those ones are fun. There's no harm in that. I'm shocked you didn't run into more bugs. I had so many. Did you not have invincible monsters?
No. Like that first monster, yes, is invisible, but yeah, and he took a lot of bullets, but I killed him. He killed me 2 times, and then
I was literally running out of clips. In that first week, I also kept getting this floating gun issue where it was like super hard to aim because your gun would just kind of start drifting, and you'd kind of have to like click to stop it because it would just kind of start like, and you're like, stop and recenter it.
I thought that was my controller. Now that
No.
you say that,
that one did get fixed in the patch update, but that first week it was like, I can't even
thought my controller
aim.
was getting drift.
No, that was just a game thing. So it was like, that's another thing that drives me crazy. I absolutely despise this game at nighttime.
Yes. Oh my God, this game is way too dark.
It is.
My word.
If you have to get into a battle at nighttime, the moment I hear the music kick in, I'm just like, all right, I'm sprinting because I want nothing to do with whatever battle's about to happen because I can't see crap. Your flashlight doesn't do much. It's so dark.
Well, I mean, I pretty quickly turned the gamma up on the game.
Same.
This is a very weird gripe because, like, I mean, I rarely pay attention to those. Like, oh, well, it has to be invisible in this image. I'm like, I'm gonna do what I feel comfortable with. Thank you very much.
I'm blind, so
yeah, I'm gonna
just
make
blow this thing out.
So there's that to begin with. But at the same token, it gives you no standard of like what brightness you're supposed to have. It's just like, here's here you can adjust it to what. Good luck.
Yeah, no real frame of reference.
So yeah, brightness was something that I went with. So I don't know if that's pro tip, Andrew. Just turn the brightness up on this game because it's brutal.
See, this is my biggest complaint that you mentioned a little bit, Aaron. The stealth in this game is awful.
Oh, it
So
basically
bad.
doesn't exist.
Is
It's
stealth? Excuse me, what?
Yeah, enemies spot you so quick, and enemies have laser vision, and they do not miss a shot. As soon as you are discovered, because for me, what was really killing me this game was that base you were talking about, where you had to go to that military base, and like, so I sided with the wardens, and because of that, they're like, "Oh, we have a guy; he will get you in." So once you're in, you're on your own. So it's like, cool, I can get in, undetected, and I could just kind of stealth my way through. I died like 20 times just from like one enemy because I'm like trying to knife him. He spots me, and then literally every guard just knows my location and just instantly shoots you. Doesn't miss a shot.
So you were asking then how the game changes because I gave the PDAs to Richter, right? And I'm trying to think now how I got in there, but I ultimately just got into the same base. So not much, probably. That's probably the convergence factor on that choice. If I were to
because
bet,
you had to find that guy Solder who was there.
the only thing I can suspect otherwise is there's probably some faction stuff. But it even says in one of the tooltips in the loading menu that you see all the time because you're constantly dying, is it's like, you can accidentally kill somebody, but it can always be fixed for the price, basically. So you can always pay your way out, which is like almost like Skyrim, right? And basically, or any of these like faction type of games, is you can anger factions, but you can basically always pay up to make it right or whatever. I don't want to sound too critical, but I feel like there's not a lot of foresight into the way the story is built that it's going to have a ton of branching factors. I feel like it probably converges on maybe 2 different endings at most. It's not some crazy like, because you helped the wardens there. And I know you're probably not saying that like a first level mission is going to ripple out to the end game, but at the same token, like I just don't think anything really ripples out that far. Because ultimately I got into that exact same fight and I actually had an easy time with it. I happened to stumble across a gun that had a really good scope on it, and headshots are mostly insta kills.
Yeah,
So
unless
I
in
just
helmet.
yeah, and then it's like 2 shots. But I came across, I had this gun and I was able to put it on a single shot, and I just sat like inside the building and just popped them off as they walked in. Although
That was the trick.
at one point they got behind me. You want to talk about bugs real quick? Is I went down, there's like a stairwell, and I look, and there's 2 of them running against the wall, up against each other, until like I went to like pull my gun up, and then instantly, though, to your point, laser point shot, like rapid fire snapped around and just started shooting me before I had a chance to like do anything else. Okay, but they ran for like a solid 2 seconds because I took a screenshot because it was making me laugh.
Combat's just wonky because it like the enemies play at a really fast pace, but you're kind of at a slow pace. So like when you're bleeding, you gotta bandage that up. Well, that takes time, but you gotta get to cover to do that, and then the enemies will still kind of press you, so you can get into tricky situations and get
They love throwing
overwhelmed
grenades.
really, really quickly. Yeah, but even then, if there is an element of this game though that I would praise, it does feel like a pretty fun game to just explore. So I don't know if you guys ran into this. I ran into this. I don't know. I literally do not know what I could do different. But I'm kind of walking around and I found this ladder and I go down into this like tunnel and it was like dark too. So it was like kind of spooky. And I'm going around and there's a bunch of bodies. And then I come across the body of what I assume is a vampire.
Yeah,
But
bloodsuckers.
then a massive horde of rats come out and devour me and I die. Yeah, like you could not kill them. They weren't the big rats you could kill. They were small ones.
Yeah.
It was literally just a swarm of them. So I'm shooting at them, but it didn't seem to be doing anything, and they just kill me. And I was like, what was I supposed to do there? And I don't even know what that was. But I just died, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna go back there because I'm just gonna get eaten by rats. There was nothing I could do there. But there were elements of that where you're like, that's kind of interesting. Like, if I maybe had a little bit more of an idea of what I needed to do there, that was kind of like a fun little thing to kind of stumble across. So there are moments like that where it feels like you could find hidden interesting things throughout this map. I don't know. Did you guys run into anything like that?
Yeah, no, like it was frustrating. I liked it, and it was also frustrating because there are times where I'm just running, and then you just get sucked up in an anomaly. Anomalies are just these random like danger zones, you have a Geiger counter that'll kind of beep when you're close to one, but it doesn't beep unless you're like very close. So I'm just sprinting along the road and just get sucked into vortex and you're dead. And it's like, luckily this game auto saves pretty well. But yeah, like some of those moments were frustrating. The worst ones, they didn't do too much damage, but they're literally these little shards. You cannot see them. And I'm just running, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm taking a bunch of bleeding damage. So some of it's frustrating, but I do like it. There is a lot to explore in this game. There's a lot of broken down buildings, hidden tunnels, and you'll find good loot. Like I found a really solid shotgun pretty early in the game.
So this leads me though to another one of my points. Outside of just your specific gear, what's honestly the point of looting anything? Like money didn't seem to matter. It
Really?
felt
I was
pretty
always short.
I guess because if you did a few side missions, you could kind of upgrade a ton of your stuff. Like I feel like I upgraded a pretty decent amount of stuff, and then I was like, well, what else do I need money for?
You got to the slag heap, didn't you?
The what?
Slag heap. It's like the next big town you go to.
So is that like the big fortress that you go into?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember needing to use money there.
There's a guy who like upgrades your weapons and to repair your stuff, and it's super expensive.
There was a guy that could do that in the first town.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, either way, like that's why I was always out of money. I had a couple guns that I really liked, and just to upgrade them and repair them took all my money.
But I also didn't feel like upgrading my stuff made a difference in my fights. I felt like the fights were still just equally as difficult.
Yeah, I was just going headshots really as much as I could. I felt like that was the only thing that was really effective, and I don't
know how you could even aim for headshots in this game. It was very difficult.
It was because I had a scope, and so I could use I could just stand pretty far away essentially, and like Call of Duty, whatever, it has like the whole breadth, and so that would actually stay steady. But otherwise, no, anything medium to close range was horrific on the gunplay, and because I'm sure I could have turned up the sensitivity on the triggers or whatever, but I'm like trying to track down these rats or these dogs when there's like a pack of them you fight at one point or multiple points or whatever, and they just run circles around you. They don't even attack you necessarily. They just run in circles. I'm like, this is stupid. It's annoying. And it just felt like a nuisance. And then, like again, the enemies were so stupid. I don't know if it gets better or worse or whatever on the higher difficulties, but similar to the two guys that were just running up against the wall, there was one of them who was standing, he had taken cover, but then he started to shoot at me because he could see me from behind cover. And so he was just consistently shooting at a wall to try and shoot me. And I was, okay, this is like, he never moved. He just stood there and shot a wall. So I don't know. Combat always felt like if I'm just going to keep my distance, get a headshot, and that would have been the gun I probably kept upgrading, or just keep finding long range guns, and that would have been how I fought everything, which is very unlike how I play a lot of any first person shooter where I have a choice. But if it was the only way that made the gunplay feel like usable, because I'm in a complete agreement. Anything mid to short range was an absolute nuisance.
You're lucky you found a scope. I did not find a scoped gun till like my 8-hour mark. And like scopes are gold because the iron sights in the game are rough. I do agree. When most of the guns I have with iron sights, it is pretty rough to shoot with. But I finally got a gun with a scope, and it's like, this is a game changer. Conserves so much more ammo.
I mean, the AMU, as we now call it, it was very nice to keep because I was able to mostly like one bullet kill a lot of enemies instead of having to waste an entire clip on hopefully getting enough bullets in, near, or around them.
Come on, Aaron. Are you gonna dog on Keith for mispronouncing a gun? You and your Gewehr.
I didn't mispronounce a gun. I just made up a new word. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
But Aaron's always been like the gun grammar Nazi over here.
Well, I mean, everyone knows that a W in German is not pronounced like an English W. It has a V to it. So it is the Gewehr, not the Gewer, as you like to call it.
The Gewer.
Yeah, absolute goon.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, I know I'm not wrong. Of course I'm not wrong. So,
well, it's not like, the A in Russian is pronounced this way. It's not an AMU.
No,
how is the A in Russian pronounced then?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Somebody should Google this. Somebody could Google this. Listen, I want to know, Andrew, what elements of this game then Are you like, this is why the game works? Like, what's happening at the 8-hour mark? Does the story make sense? Do you know why your house exploding and you need to carry this rock into the zone for some reason, or why the zone exists?
No.
Do you understand any of that?
Because Chernobyl happened.
I don't think it is.
I mean, the game is called Heart of Chernobyl.
Here's the thing. I understand a little bit of the history of this game. It's based off of a book called Roadside Picnic. And I don't think it actually has anything to do with Chernobyl, if I remember correctly. But there are these elements inside of this zone that hold these like powers. And this is what stalkers are doing, are looking for these elements. So I know I kind of understood only because I knew about that book and I knew that Stalker was based off of Roadside Picnic, that I kind of understood some of the things that were happening. I don't think it actually has to do with Chernobyl, though.
Why was
it might be an
Chernobyl?
It might be an allegory.
Because you literally see a nuclear plant in the distance.
I mean, maybe you're just in Chernobyl.
No, I think you are Russian. Like, I think you are by Chernobyl, but I don't think it's actually has anything to do with the Chernobyl disaster. I think it's something totally different.
See that? But I don't fully remember.
You'd have to look up Roadside Picnic, because I remember reading about this, because there are some other games that use that story and have built games off of Roadside Picnic. The most popular ones were the Stalker series. So I at least had like a light understanding. So like I knew when he had that rock, I was like, oh, that's one of those anomalies that the Stalkers collect. But I was like, I don't know what he's doing with it. I don't know what it does.
There's more mystery on it. So the one you specifically get from your house is different from the ones you're finding. Like, it actually has more power to it. So I'm about to do another big assault mission. I'm about to infiltrate the monolithians. So I'm still siding with the wardens. Like I said, I could have hidden the information, but because I gave them the information, they told me about, oh, this is a monolithian PDA. They're on this island. You got to go there. They might have your artifact. And so they were originally going to attack it, but now they're sending me in to infiltrate. So I'm assuming I'm going to go through a whole mission of like, do I help the monolithians or stick with the wardens? But no, it sounds like the specific artifact that you have is like human changing. Like, it's supposed to affect evolution.
Well, I was going to say, they don't tell you that early on. But
it's implied it's important.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, not to be a cynic, but like, you have it and you're the main character in the game. It should obviously be, extra important for whatever the purposes of story are. But on top of that, like, he mentions it. He's like, normally I see these things degrade within, just a few hours. You have to hurry. And he kind of gets upset because it's not at all. So he tells him it's fake. And it's not. It's just, he said it's just special. It's yours.
Well, the important thing about
it's my rock.
It appeared outside of the zone. That's also why it's so important, because artifacts don't work outside of the zone.
I also assumed that's what destroyed his building.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. And I think there's way more. I think there's going to be a twist, obviously, with the beginning, because how quick it was of you just walking in a building and you find this rock and it's like, now you're on an adventure.
Yeah, and he keeps saying he doesn't have home to go back to. Like, his home was destroyed. But I'm like, I don't understand why we're in the zone, though. I don't understand some of the stuff. Just the story. It was too discombobulated.
I don't remember.
Because I'm wondering,
it came out 17 years ago.
Yeah. If you're like a character that was in there originally, and so he like kind of already knows all the details of the zone, because he makes a comment about this thing took my home, which
it does at the beginning of the game.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I don't think the normal layperson is going to be like, this one rock right here. And I mean, I guess it was glowing, but your house just exploded. I don't think you're like, that rock right there is responsible. If you say this rock is responsible for destroying my home, you assume somebody's behind that.
That rock looked very guilty.
It did. It had a really, really guilty look on its face.
It did.
But like, I assume he knows where the origin of the rock is. And obviously, yes, it's the zone, but like, he knows what within the zone is causing it. So your purpose is like, but your character just won't say it, because it's like he knows in his head, and so he's not saying it out loud. And since you're not actually inside his head, it doesn't tell you. I don't know. I guess maybe you could try and stretch it into a good story plot of how they tell the story of like not truly being inside the character's head, but that's a real stretch. Either way,
I think you're playing a new character. According to the Wikipedia,
Okay.
Skiff is just the main
But-
character you play in the first in the.
But
sequel.
either way, I mean, there has to be some connection, obviously, that he like knows, like, who's responsible. It seems like a very John Wick thing, right? Like, you killed my dog, and he's like,
I mean,
I
is
know
this a
who's behind
revenge
it.
tale? I don't
Like,
get the idea.
He's getting revenge on the rocks.
Yeah, I don't-
I truly, that's kind of what I assumed because of what he says to, what's it,
I
Herman?
didn't.
In the very first, it's in like right after or right before you jump over the wall. He's like, this rock destroyed my house, and I'm going to pay it a visit or something like that. He alludes to it. So,
Well, I think the rock does something, or he's trying to get it to do something. I don't know what that thing is. Andrew's obviously alluded to maybe some human changing elements to it.
yeah,
but
clearly he knows more about it, that it's not just some weird rock that happened to destroy his house.
the fact of the matter is, none of us have made it far enough in the game to figure it out. And truthfully, I don't know if I have much of a desire to go back there and figure it out.
But and you are wrong. It specifically says the game is set in the zone, a place of unthinkable wonders and monstrosities that emerged in the wake of the second Chernobyl incident in 2006. So it's
What's
supposed to be
the
a
second?
So it's obviously an
I feel
alternate
like
universe.
Okay,
calling
no,
it magic and wonders in a place where there's a bunch of radiation is like calling sleight of hand true magic.
See,
Well, it's
Can
on
I explain
Wikipedia, So clearly
And
someone.
how it happens? No, I can't, but it's not magic.
you
Just because there's a mutated bear running around isn't magic.
you
Radiation on
kind
the
of you kind
It's
of
kinda
didn't
magic.
you didn't really just disagree with me though. It doesn't say it was specifically caused by Chernobyl.
Yeah, just that's in Chernobyl.
It's got magic and wonder near Chernobyl in 2000, the second event. So it's not Chernobyl because that didn't happen in 2006.
Well, it's a fictitious universe.
Near Chernobyl. Yeah, but I'm just saying, I don't think the thing was caused by a nuclear reaction or meltdown. I don't think it was caused by that. And your Wikipedia didn't really back you on that. So to say you're wrong, Aaron, I know it's near Chernobyl. They're obviously all Russian, and obviously you see a reactor and it's called Harder Chernobyl. I'm just saying I don't think that these events are created from Chernobyl.
Why would it not? Why would they have this location?
I
Why
don't
would it be
know,
like
Andrew.
Palm
When
Springs,
Chernobyl happened,
Florida?
how many monster bears did you see? How many
times
magic
have you been
rocks
to
did you
Chernobyl,
see?
Aaron?
I
Huh?
saw plenty of magic rocks.
How many times have you been to Chernobyl? You
I've-
don't know. There could
I've
be
seen-
magic rocks there.
I've seen pictures, and I didn't see any of that stuff.
This is obviously meant to be an alternate reality. Like, obviously, it's not real. Aaron.
Okay, so thank you for proving my point.
Now, I know too that this can expand further down like into the game that I haven't seen yet. But outside of the weird little like warp you into pieces bubbles, the other anomalies are like radiation on the ground or fire on the ground, which, yes, that's not like naturally occurring, but it's not like, ooh, an anomaly, fire on the ground. It's like, or lightning again. Yes, lightning striking in these set places is very weird when you walk over them and all you need is just, a little bolt this big and you're safe. That's how you get through the land.
That's bad description of it. The bolts don't necessarily make you safe. It's just a way to kind of test and dispel them.
No,
not
it does
just holding
make
a
you
bolt.
exactly. It dispels it.
Briefly, sure.
It makes you safe. So
You kind of make it sound like it's a lucky charm. As long as you're holding the magic
Did
bolt,
you know
you're
if you throw
fine.
a grenade and actually detonate a grenade in the anomaly, it makes the anomaly disappear for like 2 minutes?
I didn't know.
I didn't
that.
know.
Nobody
I
told
don't
me
know
that.
why that would matter, but
Yeah, I mean,
because
most
the
of
bolts
them.
literally like the anomalies come back so quick with the bolt.
Well, they do, but again, probably something I probably haven't experienced yet in the gameplay. But I just felt like they were always there as like you got to get through this tunnel, clear the anomalies as you walk through it, and you'll be good.
Well,
You
you
know-
also want to use your scanner because there's usually an artifact there.
so
Yeah.
great. I'm glad that you're actually bringing this up, Andrew, because that was going to be my next. Man, I really wish I kind of understood these things with the artifacts, because you can only have one artifact on at a time, but it looks
Depends
like
on
you
your
could.
armor.
Yeah, it looks like you could have up to 4. Do
No, I
these
think you
things
have
even
to-
make a
I think you have
difference?
5 or 6.
The one that
I
I,
know
had
mine-
just had a weird cryptic description. It didn't really explain to me what it did. It was like,
And it was like, just remember, you can only equip one at a time. And
well,
I'm
yeah,
like,
and it was like
all right.
slime, and it gets hit, and it becomes hard, and I was like, what? So like, do I take less damage if I get hit, or like, I don't know what this means, so I just didn't bother with it.
Well, that was the tutorial one. And would
Sure.
you lose that one?
But I assume that that's not just some weird, like that they all at least do some sort of weird cryptic
They're
description and
supposed
don't
to.
tell you what they
No.
do.
No, they tell you.
They do.
Yeah,
Oh,
But-
okay.
whenever you put your cursor over it, it would always say like, "Oh, it gives you bleed resistance or radiation resistance or thermal resistance."
I didn't
Some of
notice a
them-
difference.
I guess I never really noticed a difference because I mean, obviously it's gonna be like thermal. Obviously, well, also too, you start with a really crappy scanner. You only find crappy artifacts with a crappy scanner. You have to buy a new scanner. So the better quality scanner you have, the better artifacts you get.
Good to know. Thanks, game, for explaining that to me.
I like-
Thanks for
It
helping
does,
me
and it's
enjoy your gameplay better.
And this is what kind of kills me, right? The game feels like it'd be a fun game to explore. It feels like that. And I wished there were things that like I wanted to go explore for. And that felt like maybe that would be a thing. Like maybe this is a cool thing to go out there and collect. And there's some really rare ones that are actually really good and you really want those. So
Like Pokemon.
I just didn't feel like the looting and stuff. I didn't think the survival elements really. Did I have to drink water other than
No, just food, right?
it restored my running?
No, it does help you. Like it is because there is a lot of things. I actually looked up a little like fun thing of like, oh, this is good to know. Energy drinks and water will restore your stamina, but also they prevent your stamina from draining so much, and you can stack it multiple times. So if you down a bunch of energy drinks, you can actually run a lot farther, which is very helpful. As Aaron said, if enemies see you, they can just shoot you from a mile away. So there is important factors. Yes, you do get hungry. If you get hungry, your stomach will growl, which will make you easier to detect. So if you're trying to sneak
Wait,
around,
what?
yeah. If you're hungry, your stomach will growl and people can hear you. And it also makes your stamina go down quicker and your gun will sway more. But so it is important to kind of make sure you pack and bring the proper things because everything has weight too. And so you got to make sure that you're also not over encumbered because then you drain a lot. So it's also pretty difficult with that. But speaking of things that are easy to pack and take on the go, I want to thank so much to our wonderful sponsor, Magic Mind, for sponsoring this episode. Magic Mind are these quick 2-ounce mental performance boosters that me and Keith have been taking now for a while. I've been enjoying this product so much. I love how small it is. I actually keep a supply of it in my locker at work, which is so great and handy. Because also, too, we have a subscription. And anytime I know I'm going to have a really busy day at work, I just pop one of the Magic Minds. It takes just like 5 seconds to down a 2-ounce shot. And within, an hour, I feel way more alert and focused, and it always just improves my day at work. And having the subscription service is just absolutely fantastic because anytime I start to notice that my supply in my locker gets low, almost within like a day or now usually like within a week, there's my next supply and it's right back in my locker. So if you are someone like me who, has a lot to do, you have a lot to do at work or even at home, it's a great little tool to use when you have a big old to-do list, which having 2 small ones in the house, you always have a very long to-do list
for you. Because now I'm curious. You say you keep it in a locker, and I don't know if there's like I don't think you're wrong. I don't even think anywhere it says you have to keep them refrigerated. But I put mine in my refrigerator, and I drink Gold.
Andrew does not, like
It
a
doesn't have to be
madman.
refrigerated.
But they're delicious refrigerated.
Well,
you
I mean,
should refrigerate them.
Well, no, but it is a great point for being ready to go or on the go. Is you don't have to keep it refrigerated. I do. I think it's nice, crisp and cold.
How many come in a box?
15.
So if you order a subscription, is that 15 for the month? Okay, so it comes in a little box. All right, it's no bad deal.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, so we've been getting it for a couple months now. I don't take it every day necessarily, but it's always those days where I'm like, I can't focus at work. Gonna go grab my Magic Mind. My wife makes fun of me,
of course.
Yep, my wife makes fun of me. She calls my hippie juice, but at the same time, it helps. I enjoy it, and it's a nice little refreshing pick me up. It's just that one little shot and ready to go.
Yeah. And that's what I like. Unlike coffee, where if you don't take it for the day, you end up having a headache, you feel sluggish. Not Magic Mind. Magic Mind, it's just if I know I have an easy day, don't have to do anything, I won't take it. But if you are interested, go to magicmind.com/bag20. That's BAG20 and use our promo code BAG20 to get 20% off of a one-time purchase or 46% off the subscription. So that's magicmind.com/BAG20.
Didn't you miss the convenience of the subscription part? Not to like.
No, he mentioned subscription. He covered it.
Okay.
But
Anywho.
yeah, that is like going back to it though. It is a huge pro tip. Make sure you put stuff away. Every city has a stash for you to put stuff in a locker. Put stuff away. you usually only carry 2 weapons. I sometimes have a third weapon because weapons degrade, and a lot of guns can actually use like a couple different ammo types. So anytime you put your cursor over a gun, it actually highlights the bullets that it can use. So your pistol can actually swap between like 3 different types of bullets usually. But a lot of bullets you have do not go with your guns that you're carrying. Just put them away or sell them. Bullets are actually worth a good amount of money, but bullets take up space. Like they actually weigh stuff. So for the longest time, I was over encumbered, and I kept being like, nah, I never know when I need these bullets. And after downing so many energy drinks because I kept running out of stamina, I finally learned to just put stuff away or sell it.
I never actually ran into, well, I did run into being encumbered. That is a lie. But it wasn't until, I don't know, at least a few hours in. Like, if to that point, I guess I didn't feel like bag management was overly terrible. I just kind of didn't pick anything up if it didn't look useful. And half the guns I would pick up or find were already broken. I was like, I don't feel like carrying this around until I remember to go back to town. Because another thing about the gameplay here is like, there's not a lot of reasons to go back to town. Like, well, I mean, there is to turn in missions, but at least in this first area, like, I don't know. I feel like in an open world game of any sort, when you have like, oh, you can pick your own side missions and all, there needs to be a balance. It doesn't need to be, what is it, Ubisoft or Bethesda, where there's always like a million of them and, a million collectibles. But it was like, here's 2 side missions. And you really, really don't have to take one of them. It's literally just, hey, go kill this pack of dogs and I'll give you like 1,000 coupons or whatever. There's nothing, which I know is the point of a side mission, but typically, like even in an open world game, a side mission is going to open up more information as a relationship with that character, or more information, background about it. No, just, I don't know, you want some money, so here's some pack of dogs. Now, does it probably open up to more interesting side missions as you go down into the game? Maybe. I'm sure probably it does even. So that's where I'm like probably wrong ultimately. But I just had it was like, I'm going to do the 2 side missions that I have. I'm going to complete the main mission, and then I'm going to go back, turn it all in. And so I just didn't want to carry on all that stuff around, period. I was like, it's a bunch of broken guns. I'm just going to leave them behind.
What you described, Keith, sounded like a job. Like there's generic jobs you can do. Yeah, that's either hunt something, hunt a person, or find an artifact.
Maybe that was the bartender.
Yeah, so that's a job. Those are generic. Like those are just like, yeah, here's something to make money. The side quests actually had like a tracker in an area, and they actually were more in depth and had a story to them.
But there was also only like 2 of those in that main section. I don't know how much further it goes before we're getting out of the lower zone from where I was. But like,
yeah, the lesser zone only had like 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 2 side missions. Like usually there's a whole bunch of like, hey, explore this world. And there is a bunch of stuff to explore, but it didn't incentivize me to want to do it in any way.
The lesser zone is essentially like tutorial 2.0. You're just locked in this kind of small section of the map. Like you said, you're at the part where literally then the map just opens up.
Fair. Do you get a fast travel at least at that point?
No, there's a guy you can pay, and he can travel you to some of the major towns that you visited. But no, there is no like pause the game and just fast travel from anywhere.
And I'm okay with that. Like,
yeah,
I'm okay with making that decision to say we want our game. I'm assuming that they wanted their game to be a certain level of difficulty. Like you kind of pointed out, they do have a death counter in this game. So clearly they wanted there to be some type of difficulties. And it's a survival game. So avoiding a fast travel, I think, is probably pretty important.
Yeah.
To force you to have to go out into danger. So I'm okay with them not having a fast travel. It is a lot of walking and not a lot to look at. And that's
true.
Games like this kind of bum me out a little bit in the sense that, like, in one sense, I hate games that have every type of biome on one map because you're like, that's not real. But at the same time, yeah, it's like, here's a snow, and then if you walk 15 minutes in this direction, it's a desert. And it's like, that's not how this works. So in one sense, like, I can't stand that. But in this game, maybe I'm wrong. You're obviously further than I got in this game because majority of it was spent playing when it was in rough shape. But I feel like no matter what zone I go to, it's probably going to look a lot like the other zones.
Yeah.
Just a lot of dead.
I mean, the Slag Heap is obviously a big old junkyard. So yes, it is a lot of dead. It's more about like the building and locale there, like you going to a chemical plant, going to a power plant, a military base.
Yeah,
Like,
but none of those things look interesting. And this is where,
It's all
because you
very
can't.
industrial type of things, like concrete walls and
Sure. And there's elements, again, I know I kind of alluded to it at the beginning. There's elements of it that feel like Fallout. Not only just because of nuclear stuff, but even kind of how you're communicating with people feels very Fallout.
yeah,
But the thing about because you could sit there and say, well, Fallout is just a whole lot of dead. It is, but the locales are really unique and interesting. And it always felt like you were being led into something more and more interesting. Where this, I didn't necessarily feel like it was doing that. Like when it said you're going to the sphere, I was like, my gosh, I can't wait to see what this place looks like. Yeah, just a dead factory with some soldiers in it. And it's like, that's all it is. And they're like, you're at a military base. I'm like, I am? Like, what about this is a military base? It is a nondescript factory with some soldiers in it. And that's all it is. So,
you're expecting the Las Vegas sphere.
Well, I was kind of expecting like, ooh, okay, like this is going to be something. This is kind of a mysterious group because he doesn't have a whole lot of information on them. He doesn't tell you a whole lot about. So it's like it's a mystery. They're called the Sphere. Come to find out, it's just some dudes in a factory, and nothing interesting is happening there. And so it's like that kind of stuff just kind of bums me out because then this is why I say like it felt like there was a lot of lore there. Like there's a ton of lore here. They thought like there's something here, but it's just not doing a very good job of presenting it to you. And it's not making it feel like I cannot wait to see what the next thing is.
so
Because
exciting.
I know what the next thing is. It's a rusty old factory.
Octagon. It's
Yes.
just more shapes.
It's just so that kind of stuff it really kind of took me out of the experience. I just where Fallout nailed that, where when you were going to things, it was interesting. The Brotherhood of Steel. Well, that was really fascinating. Heck, I'm in Fenway Park right now, and it's this whole city built into Fenway Park. Like it was constantly leading you into things that was like, oh, this is actually interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Where this did not. I was not getting that sense. The mystery of things was there. I was very intrigued as to what was going on, but it wasn't like I wasn't expecting to see anything that I hadn't already just seen a bunch.
I don't know. I think, like you're saying it's not Chernobyl and you're saying it is Chernobyl.
I'm not saying Chernobyl is not there.
But no. But here's my thing though, is all it looks like though is like a nuclear bomb went off.
Yes.
And it just looks like, but and like you said, it's just, I don't know, there's some sporadic buildings. There's these weird kind of hodgepodge cities. And I don't know, I still don't fully understand. Can you leave the zone? Can you not leave the zone? Because it sounds like people leave the zone.
Your home got destroyed.
But
you cannot leave the zone.
But the guy, your buddy from the beginning, who I don't know if he sticks with you for all of it, but he's like, you're going to get stuck there forever. But there's like whole society going on there. It's not as though this place is like, I don't know. I couldn't figure, it was so hodgepodge. If it was going to be Magic and Wonder, be Magic and Wonder. If you're going to be Radiation Chernobyl Zone, be Radiation Chernobyl Zone. There was but it all looked like Radiation Chernobyl Zone. And that's why I didn't think it looked wildly interesting. It looked very like, yeah, it's very generic. There wasn't oh my gosh, the teeth, the tongues that flap through the teeth uncomfortably. Holy Lord. It's terrible. It's terrifying. It's
terrifying. It is terrifying.
Graphically, this game is so all over the place because, well, yes, the landscapes aren't interesting. They largely look very good. But as soon as anything gets anything up close, you're like, stop that from happening. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it looks fine. It looks good.
If you played that first week, the pop-in of just walking through a forest, I mean, it was just a clutter of just information. And you're like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like it almost looked blurry because of just how much stuff was kind of popping in and almost had this overshadowing going on. Again, that's fair, it got a little bit better after the patch.
That's
you
fair.
can still see it.
Maybe, but but like I said, I didn't see it terribly, at least, and I didn't play it the first week. And even if you did play it the first week, it's not the first week anymore. The game's got a patch.
That's true.
you can't hold that against it now. But at the same token, yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of things that, like I said, when you get up close, those dogs, they don't look like mutated dogs. They look like
Blind.
poorly made. Okay, first of all, they all look the same, which I know that can happen in any game, and it's not uncommon for it to be like identical. But
where's the radiated Pomeranians?
Yeah,
or
where are they at?
Dachshunds?
I would like to see that. Well, there's normal rats running around in addition to the giant rats. So let's not forget about that. Not all rats are mutated in this world, just some of them, just enough to be a nuisance.
Just like in Chernobyl.
Yeah, just like in Chernobyl. So all I'm saying is that, yeah, nothing looks very good when you get up close to it, but the teeth.
You and your teeth. Yeah. So this game is made with Unreal Engine 5. So it's the new Unreal. Yeah.
Okay.
Largely, I do agree with you guys. Like, it is
good, because you'd be wrong if you didn't.
I saw a lot of people like ripping this game apart because of graphics. For me, I'm just like, when a game's this big, I expect the graphics to take a bit of a hit, because it's like you are loading and there's so much information. Like I said, this game's 126 gigs big. Like,
why? But why? That I asked that earlier. Why is it this big?
There's probably just a ludicrous amount of assets in it. And my issue is just I don't care a ton about graphics. Graphics are not like a priority for me. I know that with a lot of gamers, like that seems to trump everything. Fun overrules everything. If the game is fun, I don't really care what it looks like. If it's a fun game to play, I really just do not care. This game struggles because it doesn't have a strong footing in anything. It's competent in some areas, but I wouldn't say it's strong in anything. Like, okay, this is where it can hang its hat on. It's survival elements. Wow, this is a clear evolution. It's really thought this through. This is great. No. The gunfighting, no, I can't do that. Graphically, no, I can't do that. Well, the story, no, I can't do that. I don't know if it has much of a score either. Like, I don't know if there's much music in this.
There's some.
It's mostly on like radio and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I've noticed much of it.
It's like where you're out in the open, there's not much. I think there's some music that will pick up when you're
being
enemies.
Targeted. Yes.
But outside of that, and because I was actually trying to pay attention. I have a bad track record of not. So every now and then, like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do it this game. And I actually did. And I noticed that.
Good for you.
It was kind of interesting where you're walking around this world and there's no background music. You're just walking around this open world.
There's a lot of ambient noise.
Yeah. And part of it too, like it mentions it right in the opening. It's like, hey, how are you listening to this? And you can like change the narrow to wide audio ranges and everything, and it recommends doing the best you can. So I was wearing headphones and I don't know, so I was trying to pay attention. But yeah, the music is interesting, but it makes sense. It's all like Russian, I think, music. A lot of times it was like Russian folk music, I think. It's kind of neat.
Russian and Ukrainian.
Yeah.
I saw there's some Easter eggs where people are singing some like Ukrainian like hymns.
Okay. I mean, that would make sense. But yeah, I thought in terms of that, I thought it was kind of interesting to like buck the norm on that, if you will. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of music that I picked up on otherwise. And the sound effects weren't all that interesting. Like, not that I would expect it to be Call of Duty gun sound effects, but
the game gets scary with the sound effects.
Does it? Okay. I mean, given you have these invisible creatures hunting you, yeah, like I can see that. But like I said, overall, I didn't think the score was great or like the sound effects weren't like crazy good.
See, but I kind of want to argue with you a little, Aaron. You said like it can't hang its hat on anything. For me, I like the survival elements of this. There's not a lot of first-person shooter survival games like this. Like you kind of have, Escape from Tarkov, which is a multiplayer game where you're dealing a lot with like inventory management and stuff like that. The last Fallout, I don't think the open world has it at all, but Fallout 4, there was a hard difficulty where you would have to eat and drink water. Yes.
There's survival games all over the place. And
like what?
Like not maybe a ton of like Ark survival is literally in its name. Rust was doing this.
Different styles. Those are
Tarkov was doing this. Game. Sure. But I would say that those all do better jobs of survival elements than this one does. This one's bare bones. And we've played a ton of games.
Is the big thing that it plays into on the survival.
Does it though? Because I felt like I was walking around with pockets full of bread and sausages.
Sure. And I had plenty of med kits, and I think at one point I had like 50 bandages. Like I wasn't really worried about that. It was more the scarcity of ammo that I was running
Yes.
up against. And like I said, even that kind of went away, at least not to like kind of go back to gameplay a little, but when I went through that same military base we kept talking about, not only did I have a single shot long range scope weapon, it was the exact same ammo type that they were all dropping. So I was just walking around picking up all their ammo out of their guns. And so in that fight, I didn't feel it, but largely, if you didn't have like that perfect setup, you basically felt like you never had enough ammo. And that was the biggest scarcity issue. And it's a first person shooter, and it's not one that's like, it plays enough like Fallout where there's considerable amounts of enemies that you're not, it's hard to manage that conserving ammo of like, is this fight worth it or not? Because too many fights come to you. In a better survival game, you have more opportunity to avoid those fights.
I will say, when I played on medium, I had like nothing, no ammo, no health, no food. Like supplies were way more scarce when you put it to medium. As soon as I put to easy, yeah, I have like 30 med kits.
Yeah.
But
Just
when I was
play it on
playing on
easy.
medium, it was very scarce.
That was good advice. Stay on easy.
Yeah. If you are finding it too easy, you can change it mid game. So if you are finding it too easy, change it mid game. But I recommend at least starting on easy. But yeah, I guess then for the achievements are pretty good. I was getting a good amount just playing the game.
They're all mysteries.
No, not all of them.
Most of them are.
The story ones, as far as I saw, I don't think there was any.
Yeah, I went through the list. I didn't get many, but I went through the list. There's a lot of that. It's just like, do this thing. And there's a couple that are kind of interesting because it's like, but one of them I didn't even try to, and I got, but it was like lead an enemy into an anomaly.
I did that too.
Oh, okay.
I knew something was chasing me, and then I guess it died. And
I didn't even know something was shooting. I walked into a cave, and it just happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, and then there's like one where you eat bread and then eat sausage right after. There's an achievement.
Yep,
it's like, all right, that was easy. Yeah, there's so a lot of the achievements aren't very hard. Like from what I was looking at, as far as I saw, I don't think there's like beat the game on the hardest difficulty. All of it was a lot of story driven. There was like get 20, knife kills. There's a couple that was like, oh yeah, get 4 headshots within like 20 seconds, which if you get a rifle, like that's easy to do. One I did by accident too. It's in one firefight, kill people with 4 different guns. And that's because I was running out of ammo. So I was just picking up dead people's guns and shooting. And then it's like, oh, achievements. Like, all right, sweet. So I was at least liking a lot of achievements weren't like frustrating. It was just giving me to them. And I was just like, all right, which I don't even think I got 100 gamer score. I think I have I think I'm at like 110. But obviously I'm not nearly as far in the game. So overall for achievement hunters, besides it being a long game, achievements aren't very hard. But yeah, so get into our final thoughts now. Well, there's actually one more point. So I wanted to ask you guys. So Aaron, you mentioned that this is a Ukrainian studio. These people literally went through a war zone making this game. Did you guys see there was a documentary on Xbox?
I did not.
Yeah, it's a free documentary. It's called War Game, and it literally follows and documents the story of the people doing this.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, and I saw a handful of moments of it. And like literally when they were getting bombed, they have another studio in Prague. So they literally were offering a lot of the people to, hey, do you want to go in these vans? Like if there's bombs going off, you can get in the vans. We can start shipping people over to Prague to kind of keep working on this game. So it's impressive. Like that's also, I give a lot of kind of passes on bugs and graphical stuff. These people, they went through war. In fact, they lost a couple people. I know at least one of the artists died in the war. Like he went and fought and died.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Again, in the back of my head, I was like, gosh, I almost didn't want to be harsh because of that.
I give this sad story now. It's like, okay, guys, review the game.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. Thanks for waiting until the very end to bring that up. So anyways, way to go, everybody.
100.
Best game I've ever played.
No, but I will say, like, as far as games go, like, there's way buggier games and crappier for like studios. Like these people went through a war zone, and that's why I didn't think the bugs and stuff bothered me too much. But anyway, sorry, we'll get to my final thoughts. I'll go first. So Stalker 2, like I said, it's not for everyone. It's definitely a game that kind of is a slow burn. It's very difficult. You really have to take your time, learn the things. if you really want to get to know the story, there is a lot of PDA and like journal entries you're finding that can give you more of the story and the lore. So it's there. You just have to dig to it. This is why I kind of describe this game, as I said, Dark Souls first-person shooter, because that's how Dark Souls is. The story is really kind of out of there, but if you are reading item descriptions and blah, 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 you'll find the lore and you'll find all this. That's a lot how Stalker is. It's also very difficult. It's a lot of trial by fire, figure things out. Like I said, it took me for about like 8 hours. Then I was kind of like, I'm having fun with this. Also, when I switched to easy, the firefights were more enjoyable. I'm getting more intrigued by the story of kind of what's going on. There is a lot of mystery going on. I've seen a lot of people seeing there's like little animation nuances. This is also part of the bloat, Keith, why you're asking why this game's so big. Anytime there's kind of like those animated cutscenes of the story, there's actually different animations. Like one guy compared a scene of someone throwing you a coin and like your character catches it in like different ways. It's just a really small thing you'll probably never notice, but there is just a lot of tiny nuanced stuff in this game that is actually kind of impressive. So I was enjoying my time with it. It is a bit rough. Oh, my biggest complaint, as I said, is just the stealth is useless. I hated the stealth in this game. Enemies are way too accurate and they just spot you, even if it's the dead of night from a mile away. And it was frustrating because, yeah, that was also one of the tooltips was like, oh, if you're going to sneak, do it when it's raining and dark out. As far as I could see, there was no like wait around. So it's not like when am I going to wait for a rainy day? Like that's not an option. I don't know. So to me, just I think in a couple months, I think a lot of this will get fixed. I just think the AI needs to be toned down, and this game will be so much better. But I'm giving this a solid 80. I was enjoying my time with it. It was rough at first, but it grew on me.
Yeah, you go ahead.
There's simply too many issues here to ignore it. It's just like I said, I can't look at this and say that it does anything exceptional. I know Andrew would argue that the survival elements, but they're pretty bare bones in survival. I think that a lot of games, especially when you're considering this is a 17-year gap from the original, the idea is that you should evolve the game and show what the next evolution of the game is. And even Andrew said, this kind of felt a lot like Stalker 1 in a lot of ways. I'm sure it's better graphics and stuff like that, but you should show an evolution. And this is what the next version of Stalker should look like. And I'm obviously completely new to the series, so this is just coming from a complete newbie on this. I really do wish the studio the best. I hope these guys kind of make it through, and I hope that they continue to make games because they went through hell to make this one. So in a way, I still feel like you should support this game in some way or another, but it's in a rough state. I hope that they're able to continue to work on it. I hope that they're able to clean it up a little bit more. I don't think they're going to be able to fix the story elements, but if you can clean it up to where it's a just competent shooter survival game, I think that would be good for it. I'm going to give this a 71.
Deep side, good stuff.
Yeah, like, man, are you going to cry?
No, I'm like, because I'm kind of with well, I mean, I don't think it's any mystery that I've really kind of been on the same page as Aaron about this whole thing. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Andrew made me feel bad about it now because
you're just judging the game, just the game.
But on the gameplay itself, I guess I was just so bummed out, and that's part of it. Like, part of it's on me, maybe a little bit that I was expecting something different. But you put me in an open world shooter, I kind of just immediately snap into a Borderlands method, and nothing was sticking for me. Because again, maybe on the higher difficulties, you get a spike of that survival, but there is. I don't know, again, there was enough even on the easy of that fight of like conserving ammo that personally I just don't like doing that. If I'm going to have a game where there's enemies everywhere, again, I didn't even really think about trying to stealth because to Andrew's point, you just can't sneak up on an enemy. They just know you're there no matter what you do. I didn't want to get into gunfights. It wasn't a good gunplay for a game that was, hey, here's an open world with guns, go have fun. None of that experience happened for me. And I just felt like, again, well, yes, I definitely didn't get into the meat of the game, if you will. I just didn't see anywhere where this really got going. I mean, Andrew said, oh, well, it was once I got a scope, that's where the gameplay got fun for me. I had a scope and I absolutely noticed the difference, but there was no part I was like, now this is I'm in now. It was just more like, well, these firefights are less of a slog because I can just kind of see them before they happen, because if I see an enemy period, I'm just going to shoot them and be done with this. Graphically, there's nothing to write home about. The music choices, as far as like the radio, are kind of interesting because you get to experience some Russian, Ukrainian music. You get to hear that if you don't normally. That was kind of neat. But outside of that, there's nothing really going on. The sound effects are useful and they add to a creepy element of the gameplay, sure. None of them are really all that great or remarkable. They're not bad, but they're not great. Yeah, I think I'm going to land right on that 70, right below Aaron, with a pass, as previously stated.
You are heartless.
I am, but here's the thing, right? So I was trying to take a little bit of a Liz roll here, and I pulled up Metacritic real quick. Esperanza gave this game a 10. I assume out of 10 because it's green. Otherwise, that would have to be a terrible score. Esperanza says, "What can I say after 57 hours of play? That's a lot. Pros: the game looks nice. Good old atmosphere from older games, but better and more expansive." That's the pros for a 10 of 10 game. Cons: no reward for fighting, especially with mutants. At least from the corpses of humans, you can collect ammunition, health kits, and food. But with mutants, you can only get, I assume, poop. Lose a lot of your ammunition, medicine, and durability of equipment because they have an obscenely high amount of HP, and you can get even poop by a couple of stray dogs. And about the poop, I'm already silent. After the patch situation has improved a little, personally, I prefer to just run away from mutants if possible and avoid shooting people. Lack of money, repairing equipment. You notice I'm getting faster because this is still going on. Repairing equipment, which breaks very often and quickly, costs 10 to 25,000 coupons. In completed quests, we get 20,000 at best. Artifacts also cost a small fortune. After the patch, the situation has improved, but in the beginning, you will still have to sell weapons from the corpse to earn a more or less amount of money. That is a 10 of 10. I just talked for how long with cons in 5 seconds of pros? How is that a 10 of 10 other than yes.
They were in war.
But that's my point. What a stupid review. This person hated this game every bit as much as Aaron and I, but gave it a 10 of 10 because it looks nice and they worked really hard. I'm sure they did. And I'm sure it was really, really hard. And
someone died, Keith.
And that's insane. I'm not trying to make light of it, but holy macaroni. Don't just do it right. Just give an accurate score, but be honest. I thought that was ridiculous. That's all I'm saying. Someone also said it was nothing short of a miracle and gave it 100.
Miracle.
This one's much shorter. Developed by Ukrainian studio GSC Game World over the course of 7 years amid a pandemic and a war, among many other challenges, Stalker 2 is a labor of love and the best type of sequel one could hope for. While many long-running franchises have strayed from the roots in an often misguided attempt to appeal to many players as possible, Stalker 2 knows its core audience well. It's a game that was developed 17 years after the original. How big of a core of fans is this that they were trying to reach out to? Is
a miracle.
Yeah, I do agree. That is a question. Like, this is, if you played the first Stalker,
it's not like this is like,
this is great.
5 different games and it was one game 17 years ago. I don't think we're talking about this long-standing core of fans. This is someone who just wanted to like give 100. Anyways,
well, it's one game, but 2 big expansions.
I mean, fair, but either way, I have to laugh.
I don't think you said it, Keith, but for Metascore, it has a 73, and for user score, it's a 7.9.
I didn't say that, so I missed that part. See, this is why I can't do Liz's job.
I know. Liz actually should be back soon. If you want her back sooner, make sure you write in and harass her more. Get rid of Aaron.
Yeah, get me out of here.
Guys got terrible.
Just kidding.
Takes.
I'll be back.
But anyway, thank you all so much for joining us. If you go to GamePassGrabBag.com, you'll find the links to all our things, which brings you to our link tree. You can check out our YouTube, come see our live recordings. Write in, give us some game suggestions. We're going to try to hit those up more. I've been your hardcore gamer host, Andrew. You can find me next Xbox Live at Firebird01952. Thank you again so much to our wonderful sponsor, Magic Mind, for this episode. Go to magicmind.com/bag. Use promo code BAG20 for your discount, and the link is in the description. And I think that's all I needed to say.
See ya.
You don't want to plug your YouTube or maybe
your I'm at 99 subscribers. I'm at 99 subscribers. So if you look for Screen Test on YouTube, go ahead and give me a little subscribe because you'll be the 100th. And
there you go.
Nothing will happen because of that. But
you just hit our 100th. Man, you already caught up to us.
Yeah.
But you could also just try and promote Max's TikTok, your future
I'm
investment.
not going to do that. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say. I thought I was going to have a better outro than this. I don't.
All right. Outro.
you.